Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay all the way in the back there? First off, I want to say, wow, what an incredible turnout. Thank you all very much for coming. It's nice to see so many familiar and new faces. And let's just kick this thing off by saying, good evening to everyone. Welcome to our 14th annual benefit. We appreciate you being here. A round of applause for everyone, please, for showing up. So this is our 14th annual benefit, and it is called Delivering on Our Promise. This is, of course, a reception to commemorate and support the National Veterans Legal Services Program, NVLSP as we call it. I'm Paul Wright. I'm the Executive Director of NVLSP. And now in our 14th year, this event supports NVLSP's critically important work. Now, after holding virtual events for the last couple of years, we are grateful to gather tonight and appreciate everyone who's here in the room with us and those who are joining us also via live stream. I want to thank the Leadership Committee, Honorary Congressional Committee, and sponsors for their support of NVLSP. I would also like to recognize our staff at NVLSP. Yes. Our staff does so much for veterans every single day, and we would like you to be recognized. So please stand up, NVLSP staff. Stand up and be recognized. Thank you so much for everything you do. Your work does not go unnoticed. There's a little mic here, so excuse me. There we go. All right, so now we would like for all of the volunteer attorneys and staff from law firms and corporate legal departments who donate their time to NVLSP to please stand up. Please rise, all. Thank you very much for contributing your time and your legal expertise to our mission. We sincerely appreciate it. And now I'd like to ask members of NVLSP's Board of Directors to please stand up. Board members. I'd very much like to thank our board members and our co-chairs, Ben Block and Amy Hsu, for their leadership and dedication to our mission. Tonight's gathering, of course, would not be complete if we did not recognize our service members, veterans, and their families. They sacrifice so much to support the freedoms that all of us enjoy. If you are a veteran of the armed forces, or if you're serving in the military now, or if you have a loved one who's in the military or has served, or have lost someone, a family member or a friend in military service to our country, we'd like for you to please stand up and be recognized. Thank you very much to all of our veterans, service members, and their families. We are sincerely indebted to you and appreciate your contributions. Now, as we begin this evening, it is incredible to me to realize that we are now, as NVLSP, moving into our 5th decade. This mic keeps cutting off, excuse me. It's our 5th decade, which is quite a long time, and it is a lot of dedication and work that we've done on behalf of veterans. Over the last 41 years, there have been some amazing accomplishments. So please join me in watching a short overview of our first 4 decades. So even after 41 years, of course, there is still a tremendous amount of work that remains to be done. And as you will see in our video coming up, Delivering on Our Promise, it's about our work that ensures that the nation holds its commitment to each and every service member. And now it is my pleasure to honor and introduce our MC this evening, Ms. Brianna Keeler. Brianna.
Thank you so much, Paul, for your kind introduction. I really appreciate it. And I've been following NVLSP's work for a while now, and I know how hard this organization works every day to help our nation's service members and our veterans receive the benefits that they're entitled to. As a nation, we have a covenant with our armed forces, which is so important, I think, especially with our uniquely volunteer force. And it's pretty simple, which is that we will make sure you have what you need to serve, and we will help you and your family. It will help you manage should you suffer negative consequences from your service. And sometimes, as many of you are aware, there are failures to live up to that covenant. And, you know, as a military spouse myself, seeing up close what service members do, what families and service members sacrifice, I'm in awe of them. And I'm so honored to be able to tell their stories through my column Homefront and just try to get people to understand a little more about it. But I'm so in awe of people who are serving this community, who are taking it upon themselves individually to make good on that covenant by doing this, by doing what you're doing. NVLSP, all of the work, including those folks here in this room who are part of those 50,000 pro bono hours that were put in alone last year to help veterans, making sure that they are getting the benefits that they're entitled to. So this work that you're doing day in, day out, it's truly amazing, and I am just honored to be with you tonight at your 14th annual reception to honor it. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the event's Leadership Committee Chair, Lucy Fato. Lucy is Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Global Head of Communications and Government at AIG.
Good evening. I'm Lucy Fato, General Counsel and Global Head of Communications and Government Affairs for AIG. I am delighted to serve as Leadership Chair for NVLSP's 14th annual benefit. I'm disappointed I can't be with all of you in person, but I know this is going to be a very special evening. AIG is a proud supporter of, and through our pro bono program, we partner with NVLSP to help U.S. veterans, service members, and their families obtain critical disability and other benefits to which they are entitled. Our colleagues are currently supporting several veterans who were dishonorably discharged for reasons that involve certain mental health conditions, including PTSD, military sexual trauma, and don't ask, don't tell, among others. I am very proud to work for a company that is an ally to veterans and allows my team to leverage AIG's global platform and resources for this very important work. I want to thank all the veterans and service members who are attending the benefit. Your choice to serve is admirable. You are a hero, making innumerable sacrifices to protect us and our country. Helping you and your families is a privilege, and I know that everyone here tonight joins me in honoring you for your bravery and your courage. I also want to congratulate all of tonight's incredibly deserving honorees. And I want to acknowledge the staff and board of NVLSP for your dedication and commitment and all that you do to provide exceptional legal services to this community. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this special event. I hope you all have a wonderful and memorable evening.
Thank you, Lucy, for your leadership as chair of tonight's event. And now, as NVLSP continues to move forward, we're going to watch a video this evening that showcases some of NVLSP's outstanding work and illustrates how NVLSP is delivering on its promise.
Upon entering the military, every service member takes a solemn oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. The nation, at the same time, pledges to provide them with certain rights and benefits if they should be injured or become sick due to their military service. We have painfully seen ever since the Vietnam War that too often our nation falls tragically short on this pledge. Since 1981, the National Veterans Legal Services Program, NVLSP, has worked to ensure that the government delivers to our nation's 22 million veterans, service members, and their families the benefits to which they are entitled because of disabilities resulting from their military service to our country. NVLSP recently won a major victory that will force the Department of Veterans Affairs to reimburse tens of thousands of veterans for emergency medical expenses incurred at non-VA facilities that are not covered by the veterans' private health insurance. In April 2022, NVLSP filed a petition in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit with the assistance of pro bono counsel Sidley Austin that challenged the VA's reimbursement regulation on behalf of 2 veterans. Although that regulation required VA to reimburse veterans without insurance for 100% of their emergency medical expenses, it prohibited VA from paying any money to veterans with private health insurance that covered part but not all of their emergency medical expenses. In October 2022, the Federal Circuit agreed with NVLSP's position that VA's regulation violates the reimbursement statute, which requires VA to reimburse insured veterans for their liability for coinsurance, paving the way for veterans to recoup millions of dollars in medical expenses they were forced to lay out in an emergency. It was an admirable sense of duty and service that spurred 17-and-a-half-year-old Christopher Gunn to volunteer for the military as he was exiting high school in 1975. Gunn's father, a Philippine national, fought for the United States during World War II. Gunn saw his enlistment as a way to honor both his father and the United States. From an early age, Gunn told himself,
"Whenever I get a chance, I will serve the military to pay back the U.S."
Gunn served 30 years, rising to the rank of Sergeant Major. Those 3 decades in uniform caused Gunn to develop a series of traumatic stress conditions. Gunn sought assistance for his conditions through NVLSP's Lawyers Serving Warriors Pro Bono program.
Sergeant Major Gunn had not previously applied for combat-related special compensation. We combed through his medical records and we identified those disabilities and linked them to certain combat events, and were able to make the case that those disabilities stemmed from Sergeant Major Gunn's combat service.
Gunn received the benefits he deserved and became an advocate for NVLSP, encouraging other veterans to seek NVLSP's help.
Mr. Gunn's story is really about his incredible role in connecting veterans with NVLSP. So in 2019, we did a discharge upgrade clinic in San Diego, and this was for veterans who had a less than fully honorable discharge, which can be a complete bar to VA benefits. And Mr. Gunn was part of the San Diego team that arranged the clinics, and they were a huge success. But he didn't stop there. He went on to refer many, many additional veterans to NVLSP for assistance with their applications for combat-related special compensation. So his story is not just about him obtaining benefits for himself, but his incredible role in helping dozens of veterans to get the benefits that they are entitled to.
NVLSP is action with attitude. Why? Because NVLSP deliver.
NVLSP has been at the forefront of efforts to advocate for veterans who have suffered from toxic exposure. NVLSP continued in this tradition by establishing its Burn Pits Claims Assistance Program in October 2021. NVLSP staff attorney Ryan Kelly worked closely on these cases.
Burn pits were just these giant, essentially pits of trash that were present pretty much any area you can imagine U.S. service members being deployed to, where they just threw anything and everything in these giant pits, lit it with jet fuel, and burned it. And obviously when you're working in close quarters with these giant burning pits of trash, that can lead to a lot of health issues. So veterans came home with not just respiratory issues, but higher rates of cancers, higher rates of all sorts of conditions.
Lee Cousins is one such veteran. Cousins joined the Army in 2007. Upon leaving the Army in 2012, he became a police officer and began to build his post-military life. In 2021, after experiencing back pain that he thought was a kidney stone, Cousins went for medical tests.
So I went down to our local imaging center, got a CAT scan, and about an hour after I got the CAT scan, the imaging center called me back and said, no, hey, you don't have a kidney stone. I have a large mass on my left kidney, and I need to go to the emergency room immediately. So at which point in time, I went to our local trauma center and had more imaging done and more tests done, at which point in time they determined that I had stage 4 renal cell carcinoma, which is stage 4 kidney cancer.
The devastating news of the cancer diagnosis was made even worse by the enormity of the financial cost of treatment.
The financial impact is huge. I am on oral chemo medications twice a day, every day, and those run roughly about $50,000 a month, as well as on top of all the other medications I'm taking to counteract the side effects from that chemo medication. Combined with every 3 weeks, I do intravenous immunotherapies that I go to, which run about $20,000 every treatment for this specific medication I'm on. And that changes with the medication. And on my first rounds of treatment for my intravenous medications, it was just over $100,000 of treatment. So the financial impact is huge. The cost of cancer treatment in general is extremely expensive. And that's a cost that you just can't plan for.
I think mostly about our girls. They're 5 and 7. We probably would have had to use their college funds and our retirement funds to cover treatment and scans and medications and travel. It's terrifying. I mean,
Yes.
it's not something, he was 37 when he was diagnosed. I don't know that anyone can ever prepare, but at 37, a stage 4 metastatic cancer diagnosis isn't something that is anywhere in your realm of imagination. Without NVLSP, it's hard to even imagine what our life would look like right now.
Thankfully, Cousins has been able to receive his chemotherapy treatments.
These claims are difficult to prove. They are often cases that arise years after the fact, and NVLSP has for decades been at the forefront of keeping the VA accountable and making sure that the veterans who have been exposed to toxic substances get the full extent of the benefits they have earned and they are owed. And we've been working on this for decades in Vietnam-era generation cases involving our NEMR class action cases. We've been involved in helping make sure that the PACT Act was passed, that it was as robust as it ended up being. And of course, through our Burn Pit Claims Assistance Program, we're here to ensure that the PACT Act actually does what Congress and we as a society have promised that it will do. We are making sure that no one gets left behind, no one gets lost in the cracks of the bureaucracy at the VA. We're here to make sure that it actually gets implemented and that every veteran who has a claim gets what they are entitled to.
NVLSP's foundation was built on the efforts to right the wrongs of bad paper discharges.
A bad paper discharge refers to a discharge that is not fully honorable. It really impacts their life as a civilian. It can impact employment opportunities, educational opportunities, access to specific benefits that are eligible to most veterans that might not be eligible to some people with bad paper discharges.
Frank Ciaudelli carried that burden for decades. He volunteered for the Marine Corps straight out of high school in 1967 at the height of the Vietnam War. Within just a short time of enlisting, the teenager found himself flying helicopter missions on the front lines of Vietnam.
On the 1st of May, I went for a check flight, and the check flight started out kind of, I didn't expect it. We flew into an LZ, and we were under fire. I mean, it was, we were picking up bodies. That was the first mission I ever flew, picking up dead Marines.
Unfortunately, this was just one of the traumatic experiences Ciaudelli would endure during his service.
Vietnam took its toll on him like it did so many others. And he saw a lot of his friends get killed. One of the people that he mentions often is a high school friend of his who got shot. He saw a lot of people die. A lot of men died in his arms as he was trying to evacuate them. He just saw a lot of trauma and a lot of combat. And as a result, he had a lot of survivor's guilt and a huge amount of PTSD, nightmares and flashbacks dealing with all of that, and kind of never really felt safe or whole after that experience. Unfortunately, like so many others, the way that he coped with this was drugs.
Even though he had a stellar service record, Ciaudelli's substance abuse and clashes with his military superiors led to an undesirable discharge from the Marines in 1972. That so-called bad paper was a yoke around his neck for decades as he got sober, earned a college degree, and built a family. As a result of NVLSP's advocacy and the advocacy of both of his lawyers serving Warriors volunteer attorneys, Ciaudelli's bad paper has been erased and his discharge upgraded to honorable.
We really wanted to file a petition to get his discharge upgraded from less than honorable so that he could benefit from all those things that he had really earned over the years through his service and through his dedication. So what NVLSP did was they got me together with my corporate partner, and we were able to go through the files. They helped us figure out the process. They gave phenomenal training. They were there to answer our questions, and then they just let us roll our sleeves up and get to work, working directly with Frank, asking them questions when we needed it, and being able to get the petition put together with all of the supporting documentation, submit it, help shepherd it through the process of being vetted until we finally were successful in getting Frank what he absolutely deserved.
For Ciaudelli, it has been a nearly 50-year journey for a 1-mile trek to his hometown's Veterans Day Parade.
It's not even a mile, it's about a mile from where I live. My wife and I have gone to it, but I've always stayed in the background. And I've always had, when we've left there, I've said to my wife, and I feel guilty just going there because I don't feel like I belong. And this year, I'm going to go there with a lot of pride because NVLSP gave me this.
What an inspirational video where we see the impact of NVLSP's legal work and just how amazing it is and how it can be life-changing for a veteran. It is my honor and privilege to recognize our special guest and veteran, Frank Chowdelli, who is here in the front row, whose story we were so fortunate to share this evening. Frank, thank you truly for your service. Now it is my honor to introduce our first presenter of the evening, Nancy Morrison O'Connor. Nancy has been an NVLSP board member since 2014 and is an adjunct professor of law at the University of Notre Dame. Her legal career spans over 4 decades across academia, private practice, corporate, and government.
Thank you, Brianna. It's my distinct pleasure to present our first award tonight for assistance in helping us to deliver on our promise, the Corporate Leadership Award. This award this year goes to Raytheon Technologies. We have already seen tonight, very graphically and emotionally, the example of the outstanding work that Raytheon Technologies and DLA Piper have done with our Lawyer Serving Warriors team in the area of discharge upgrades. Their work is life-changing, and it ensures that the final sentence in the story of each warrior is properly punctuated. In addition, Raytheon Technologies is a leading corporate partner of Lawyers Serving Warriors Discharge Upgrade File Review Project. Obviously, in this effort, both counsel and client are warriors. Outside its pro bono legal work, Raytheon Technologies internally supports its own significant veteran workforce through its employee resource group and corporate social responsibility. Through its own Connect Up initiative, the company, with its strategic partners, support programs that assist veterans as they transition to civilian employment and support their families. Here to accept the award on behalf of the company is Raytheon Technologies General Counsel and Chief Warrior, Raja Maharaj. Please join me.
Thank you, and thank you to all the veterans for your service. It's much appreciated. And thank you for that introduction, Nancy. I have the honor tonight of accepting the Corporate Leadership Award on behalf of Raytheon Technologies, a company with a simple but very powerful mission, creating a safer and more connected world. As part of making it safer, our employees come up with solutions to deter threats, defend democracy, and protect our warfighters. And part of that is making sure that we come up with solutions that help keep the brave women and men who serve in the military safe, and do all that we can to help bring them home safely to their families and loved ones. But our support doesn't stop there on the battlefield. I'm proud to say that at Raytheon Technologies, we have over 15,000 employees that are military veterans. And with everything that these veterans have gone through, their families have gone through, the tremendous sacrifices they've made for our country, and the challenges that they endure, we try to make sure that the transition back home to civilian life is a little bit easier. And as a company, we're committed to that with our employee resource groups, and especially our Veterans Employee Resource Group. We also partner with organizations like NVLSP to help ease that transition and help these veterans get benefits that many of them don't know exist, or know exist but just don't have the tools necessary to help navigate some of the complex systems to get it. One stat that I heard, and I had to go back and double check it, that I just can't believe, since 2010, NVLSP has helped obtain benefits totaling over $5 billion for veterans. That's something that no law firm in the world can ever say that they've done. So thank you for that. You should give yourselves a round of applause for such an accomplishment. And I'm extremely proud as the general counsel of this company to have the lawyers that serve with DLA Piper partner with them to work on the discharge upgrade program. So with that, I want to thank you all for the important work that you do, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of Raytheon Technologies to accept this award. Thank you very much. I'm back. Yeah, take two. Thank you.
Raja, congratulations, and thank you to Raytheon Technologies for all of its hard work on behalf of veterans. And now I would like to invite Army veteran and NVLSP board member Chris Antoniou to present our next award. Chris has been a board member since 2013.
Good evening. It's wonderful to be with all of you tonight. It really is, to be out and about in front of people after a couple of years at home. I'm delighted to present this year's Pro Bono Partner of the Year Award to McGuire Woods for their outstanding pro bono work assisting our nation's veterans and their families. Since 2019, the firm has taken the cases of over 40 veterans and service members. These cases range from discharge upgrades to Board of Veterans Appeals matters. In addition, McGuire Woods has become a leading partner in medical retirement clinics in conjunction with the U.S. Special Operations Command, SOCOM, both in person and virtually. NVLSP is very pleased to recognize McGuire Woods for its outstanding commitment to advocacy for our veterans and their families. Here to accept the award on behalf of the firm is McGuire Woods Chairman Jonathan Harmon. I was going to let Jonathan come up, but Jonathan was a plebe when I was at First at West Point, so I want to give him a little bit of a hard time. So not only is Jonathan a veteran, which is very important, but he's also been personally involved in cases himself, helping other veterans. Let's welcome Jonathan on behalf of McGuire Woods. Okay, buddy.
Thirsty. Thank you, Chris. On behalf of McGuire Woods, I am deeply honored to kind of accept this award tonight from the NVLSP. You know, when you come to an event like this, and I know many of us here get to go to a lot of events, I was saying to Liam on the front row, you really feel like when you're among veterans and people who love veterans that you're among family, you know, and so just hearing your story just really touched all of us because we feel like we are part of your family in a sense. I want to thank the NVLSP for your kind of unwavering commitment to help veterans through good times and bad times. And to hear that number that was presented, about $5 billion of benefits, is just astronomical. I also want to thank three people here from our firm who've Without their determination and diligence, we wouldn't be receiving this award. And the first is Michael Poboreski. Michael, will you stand up just for a moment? Michael is the chair. Michael is the chair of our Veterans Legal Network, and under Michael's leadership, our Veterans Legal Network has just exploded and been strengthened in so many ways in our relationship with the NVLSP and other organizations as well. So thank you, Michael, for what you do. I also want to acknowledge our pro bono director. Angie, will you stand? Angie Zimmern. Angie Zimmern has been our pro bono director for some time, and she is unmatched in her commitment for pro bono, especially as it relates to veterans. Thank you, Angie. And then the third person who's supposed to be sitting next to you, I don't see Drew. Drew, are you in the audience? There he is. Drew. Drew Austria is our pro bono coordinator, with the NVLSP, and it's because of him and his hard work, along with Michael and Angie, that we have been able to partner with the NVLSP and with such great success. Thank you, Drew. You know, all of us here recognize that it's a very noble calling to be in the armed forces. And it's unfortunate that we find ourselves, I love the word you used, Brianna, about the covenant, it being a covenant, that we find ourselves fighting just for the covenant to be kept for our folks who have fought and sacrificed so much. And so it's just an honor to be able to partner with an organization like the NVLSP to make sure that those promises are kept. At McGuire Woods, one of our core values is commitment to community. And in my judgment, and in the judgment of our leadership here, it's impossible to keep that core value without defending the rights of those who have fought to protect our liberties in the armed forces. So that's why we spend so much time talking about it and being committed to it at the firm. And there's a side benefit to it as well, and that is by doing what we do, we're able to attract and retain folks in the military who have a unique set of skills of leadership, diverse thought, and commitment and loyalty. And so it builds us up as well. So I just want to thank the NVLSP for this incredible award, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Jonathan, for your firm's service to NVLSP and its work to help our service members and their families. And now it is time for our Lawyers Serving Warriors Excellence Award. It is my pleasure to introduce Emily Wexler, Pro Bono Counsel at Sidley Austin and NVLSP board member. Emily was a recipient of this award in 2018, so please join me in welcoming Emily to the stage.
Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. It is my pleasure to present this year's Lawyers Serving Warriors Excellence Award to Liam Montgomery, partner at Williams & Connolly. Liam is an 11-year veteran of naval aviation. Liam has shown a deep commitment to veterans pro bono work through his own advocacy personally and is acting as a force multiplier by placing NVLSP cases at Williams & Connolly with his colleagues. Congratulations, Liam. for your outstanding work, and thank you on behalf of NVLSP.
Wow. Thank you so much for this honor. I can't tell you what it means to me to be honored by an organization like NVLSP that is doing such incredible work on the front lines for our veterans. You know, as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about here tonight, I realized that in order to set it up, I have to make just a little bit of a confession. And that confession is that I'm kind of a huge nerd inside. And let me explain why. When I left the Navy after serving for 11 years and went to law school, it was a really difficult thing to do. I felt like something was being torn out of my heart. And so I said to myself when I went to law school that I would never let go of that value of service that the Navy had instilled in me. And I would take it with me to law school. And when I got to Williams and Connolly, which is incredibly dedicated to service itself, I realized that I had a huge amount of resources behind me to bring and keep carrying that service forward, and pair it with the newfound lawyering skills that I had gained in law school and was getting at Williams and Connolly. And as I brought those two things together, one phrase just kept going through my head, and it was, "With great power comes great responsibility." Those of you who are chuckling may be familiar with that phrase because it's straight out of Spider-Man. So basically, I've built a decade and a half a legal career off a phrase that I stole out of Marvel Comics. But, you know, in all seriousness, when I think back to my time in the Navy, it's something that always pulls me in two different directions. It's both at once a source of great pride for me and also a source of great humility. I'm really proud of my service in the Navy. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve, I wear it on my chest, the wings that I earned in the Navy. But I'm also deeply humbled by how insignificant my service is as compared to other veterans, many of whom are in this room, including you, Frank. And I just want to say to you, you have always been one of us. You've always been one of our community of veterans. I don't care what any piece of paper said, but you certainly deserve the piece of paper that you got, and it just reflects what always has been. This award is a lot like my thoughts about my service in the Navy, though. It's both something I'm really proud of to get an award from an organization like NVLSP, but it's also something that's very humbling because to me, this award has almost nothing to do with me personally at all. Instead, it has a lot to do with my law firm, Williams and Connolly, which, as I said, is incredibly dedicated to service. When I was just an associate at the firm put its trust in me and its resources behind me to start up a veterans pro bono program from scratch. And ever since that time, the partnership with NVLSP has flourished. The firm treats its veterans clients with the same level of service and ferocity that we bring to some of the largest corporations in the world and some of the most prominent people in the world. And that's something I'm deeply thankful for. But I really want to get down to what this award is actually about and what this night is about. And that is veterans themselves, the veterans that are all around the world today, that deserve the justice that their country promised them and owes to them. Some of them are here in this room. One of them is my dad, who is a Vietnam veteran who's here tonight. He was in the Army in Vietnam, and they say that a parent's greatest goal is for their child to do better than they did. So, Dad, you're welcome. I joined the Navy and did better than you did. But also, a lot of my veteran clients couldn't be here tonight. I know clients of people here, like those from McGuire Woods and Raytheon and the other awardees couldn't be here tonight. And veterans, obviously, from all around the world that need that kind of justice can't be here tonight. And so tonight, to me, is really about all of you who are veterans, all of those veterans from around the world that deserve the same fight for justice that NVLSP brings to its work every day. So in conclusion, I just want to leave you with a little nugget of advice. If you're looking for something around which to build a successful legal career, you can't go far wrong than the great Stan Lee. So thank you very much for this award. I'm really humbled.
Thank you, Liam, so much for your excellent pro bono work and those comments. We've reached our final award of the evening, the Senator Daniel K. Inouye Award, and it is fitting that this year's presenter is the 2021 honoree, as well as NVLSP's co-founder and special counsel, Bart Stichman. Bart's dedicated his life's work to ensuring our nation lives up to its promise to veterans, and veterans receive the benefits they deserve. Please welcome Bart.
Thank you, Brianna. Appreciate it. I'm honored to present NVLSP's most prestigious award to Rosie and Leroy Torres, the co-founders of the nonprofit Burn Pits 360. They played a pivotal role in the passage of the PACT Act, recent landmark legislation expanding VA disability and health care benefits to millions of veterans exposed in service to burn pits and other toxic substances. Usually, the major veterans organizations are the key players in getting legislation like this enacted. Not so with the PACT Act. Rosie and Leroy were not satisfied with the initial bill supported by some major VSOs last year because it only set up an advisory committee to determine which medical conditions result from burn pit exposure. Instead, the Torreses successfully urged Senator Gillibrand and others in Congress, and Jon Stewart, who's like a congressman, tells them what to do, to support a more encompassing bill that ultimately became the PACT Act by presumptively service-connecting over 24 diseases because of their association with burn pits and other toxins. In recognition of their key roles, Rosie and Leroy were on the dais, right next to President Biden, when he signed the PACT Act last August. And our video about Mr. Cousins, Lee Cousins, I think shows the difference of the impact of the PACT Act, because we had to get a medical opinion, a private medical opinion, showing that his kidney cancer was related to exposure to burn pits, and paid money for that and did a lot of work. Not more under the PACT Act. Because of presumptive service connection, we're not going to have to go, and they won't have to go to these extremes in order to get service-connected disability benefits in health care. 2022 was a banner year for the Torreses in the judicial branch of government as well. They weren't satisfied this year with just the legislative branch. Leroy Torres returned to his job as a Texas state trooper after service in Iraq, but he was abruptly fired because the state of Texas was unwilling to provide employment accommodations for his burn pit-related conditions. His lawsuit against the state of Texas went all the way to the Supreme Court, which issued a landmark decision 5 months ago that it is unconstitutional for states that employ veterans to disobey USERRA, the federal statute that requires employers to rehire veterans whose employment is interrupted by military service and make accommodations for their service-related illnesses. On a personal level, it has been a privilege to get to know and work with Rosie and Leroy. Thank you for all the work you and Burn Pits have done and continue to do on behalf of veterans. Now, we would call up normally both Rosie and Leroy to accept this award, but there are the costs of war. And Leroy's service-connected conditions have gotten worse in the last few days, and he had to go to the hospital, and now he's in decent condition back in his hotel, but he can't come here because of the costs of war. And so I'm calling up Rosie and Bob Carey to accept the award for Rosie and Leroy. Thank you. Let me get this out of your way.
As Bart said, I'm Bob Carey. I'm a friend of the Torreses, and I was lucky enough to be around when Rosie and Leroy needed help, and they honored me by letting me help them over these last couple of days. And it's the least I could do for what I saw was pretty incredible advocacy in late July and August. I don't know if you all know this, but it was Rosie's idea to camp out on the Senate steps all night, every night, until it was passed. And it was remarkable. And it's something that I am impressed by, and I'm honored that she asked me to deliver Leroy's comments. But I will say one thing as well. I used to work in the Senate for 8 years, and I used to write law. I'm not a lawyer, but I used to write law. And I wrote really bad law, probably allowing you all to be able to support NVLSP for your non-pro bono work. So I would like my name to be added to the copper sponsors. Okay. So on behalf of Captain Leroy Torres, U.S. Army retired, I'll give his remarks. As Burn Pit 360's motto says, the war that followed us home has become a reality and dreadful journey for many veterans. I, for one, those invisible wounds from toxic exposure have taken a toll on my health and cost me my military and civilian career as a Texas state trooper. We are hard-pressed to seek for answers regarding my ailments due to an employer who is negligent of providing a modified work environment from illnesses I battled that were associated with burn pit exposure. As citizen soldiers, we deserve to keep our jobs when we return from serving our nation if we return with limitations. We should not have to bear the burden alone due to toxic exposure caused by an instrumentality of war. I am grateful for National Veterans Legal Service Program for providing support to veterans because of disabilities resulting from their military service to our country. God bless NVLSP, and God bless the United States of America.
On July 28th of this year, we made a decision to peacefully protest 6 days on the steps of our nation's capital. On August 10th, we made history as we stood with President Biden as he signed the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson honoring our PACT Act into law. Now that the PACT Act has passed, the reality is that America's warfighters are still sick and dying. My husband is one of those men who yesterday was admitted to the hospital due to his burn pit-related illnesses. So tonight, I want to thank NVLSP, all the veteran organizations, all the Hill staff, members of Congress, my dear friends John Field and John Stewart. But most importantly, I want to thank the families who stood on those steps, who slept on those steps, we cried on those steps, for their courage to step forward and share their stories with the world. They basically help save the lives of our nation's heroes and their survivors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosie, for being here. We're so sorry to miss Leroy tonight. You are amazing. You are the model of what two people can do and what change they can make, and that accepting okay isn't enough. For all of us, thank you. Thank you to you all of our honorees tonight, for your hard work on behalf of our veterans. To everyone here tonight, it is really your generosity and your support that enables NVLSP to help our veterans, our service members, and their families. And we're so grateful that you were able to attend our reception this evening. So when we adjourn here in a moment, I would like to ask our award recipients, our presenters, as well as the directors on the NVLSP staff, if you can meet me here on the stage for photos, so that we can get this moment on record, if you will. Thank you so much, everyone, and good night, and we will see you next year.